Okay, now it seems to be working, I think. It looks like it's working. I'm going to assume it's working. Just slightly delayed on the left side of my screen. How awkward. Or maybe not so awkward at all. Hello to anyone who may end up watching. Today we are going to be painting a giant from Skyrim for the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms war game. I'm going to play it as a solo RPG eventually. I've already had a few test runs. Hello, Meg. Is there a way I can pop out this chat so that I can look at it? There we go. Place you over here. And the giant down here. That's probably gonna work out. Okay. So we have the figurines right here in front of me. We have a base and a giant. Unfortunately, the giant did not come with a base when I got it, so I had to go and get a separate base. Fun fact, this base is actually for a Fallout figurine. I had to cut a couple of pieces, specifically right here. Or do I have a file? I do. Specifically down here, there was a stim pack and then a small travel case. I snipped them away, and surprisingly, the figure or the base is still fine. There was plenty of filament beneath that there wasn't an issue. I also used this file to sand down a portion of it to both sides. Hardly noticeable. I did start one thing before turning on this video, besides priming, that is. The stone for the giant right here at the end of his club, and the stone on the base, I painted it black and then dry brushed some white. That is my standard scheme for painting stone. As you can see, here's a stone bridge that I did before using the same scheme. We just go over it with black and then dry brush white. The only reason I didn't dry brush on camera is I didn't want to have a bunch of white dust particles floating in the air, screwing with my breathing. That just sounded bad for my health. Another sample of the white on black is this fountain. I think this is one of my best stone pieces. This figure, this background terrain piece is one of my favorites, simply just how it printed well. For a FDM printer, and the dry brushing just went on great. I don't know how well you can see the figurine's face. Usually you don't get faces when you do PLA printing like this, but she came out just fine, and I really like the figurine. I'm not exactly sure where I want to start with the figure. I want to do several layers of ground, and I probably need to do several layers of skin. The picture that you're looking at, the screen, is a little blue, a little darker than it should be, but he is mostly just a flat gray, not that blue tint that you see on screen, which is likely due to the lighting. I need to give him a blue tint. As you can see from several of the, I guess my fingers are down here, from several of the pictures that I have, he does have that blue look. When you get a little closer in certain pictures, including the model, the bottom left all the way bottom left picture is the actual figurine that my figurine is modeled after. I did not make it. I just, at this moment, cannot recall who did. I could put his name in the comments afterwards. But you can see that the nose is slightly pink, and we may mimic that, but we want to get that skin tone down. But I think we're going to start with a base because we want to do multiple layers on it. And we're going to have to be careful around the stone most of all, but the rest of it not so much. For the base, I have some little grass tufts that we're going to attach to it from All Game Terrain. And I don't have it right here because I've never done it before and I don't want to make a mess of my desk, but I'm going to apply some snow flocking to the base, so I don't know how much detailing I need to do on the ground. Taking a look over here, this, I have to make sure I'm on camera. I'm not used to doing this on camera. Taking a look to the left, you see that we have some skeleton pieces, so that'll be easy to do. We might even partially bury them and have them peeking out, but we'll see where that goes. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do the base. Maybe we'll do a deeper brown coating first, and then dry brush some stuff on top of that. I don't want it to be too dark, though. So we'll go with, do I have a leather here? I do, okay. So we're going to start with a dry coating, not dry coating, with a base coat of leather brown. Keep in mind that this is a log. I'll bring it a little closer. This is a log at the base, so we're going to need to make sure it doesn't blend too well with the leather. We will be going over this with varying shades of green at some point because I want to do a little mud mixture before I put the tufts on it and then flock it with snow, because I want that a natural like brown peeking out from beneath the snow. I don't want to completely cover the figure. So let's get that leather brown down. Typically with this part, we can be as sloppy as we'd like, but the reason we do the dry brushing before we apply everything else is because as we go about dry brushing, it's very hard to be precise to get the spread. If you take a look at the figure of the giant right here, this is supposed to be gray, but I have portions of white that were dry brushed onto the wood. That's going to happen because, again, dry brushing these smaller portions, it's kind of a sloppy, messy thing that you do. Ironically, I like the way the dry brush look came across the wood. And I might dry brush, after we make it a dark brown, I might dry brush some dark tone in the middle of it so that the darker crevices are actually darker, and then dry brush a lighter brown over it just to get a little bit depth and texture to the wood. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start right with this. And first we are going to outline the stone before we do any detailing. I totally made a mistake yesterday as I was sloppily painting because I assumed that the brush that I am currently using was my just messy filler brush. It was not. It was actually my precision brush, and I just ruined a brush last night. Which happens. I believe I can shampoo it to get it back into shape, but these brushes are only a few dollars, and I genuinely do not care that they get destroyed. It's not a flex if it's like $3, right? Consumerism. Painting minis can take a little bit, especially when it comes down to doing more precise details. It's very awkward that I have to cross my hands to get to the figure that I'm trying to paint. I have so many things in front of me. Usually there's a lot more space when it comes to this, and I'm probably going to get up and brush the side. At that point, we can do a light brushing of black underneath, but I will need to pull the camera away so that I can get a better view. Because right now, I not only have the camera, a microphone, and an overhead lamp blocking the way, which I'm surprised that all three are not jumping in the camera. This thing right here on the top, it was some little like fishing tackle box, but I managed to scuff it enough so that it wouldn't look like a box and sort of almost became a natural formation. So that's just a little magic. As I paint here, this portion that I'm going over looks to be raised, and I must have missed it when dry brushing because it could have been another bit of stone. What do we do with that? We can ignore it. Remember that I'm going to flock portions of it, so it doesn't matter if there's a change in elevation, right? Snow is not always uniform. It looks uniform till you get a little bit closer. I'm also going to place the grass tufts on it later on, which can hide a bit of that elevation and make it a little bit more uniform looking. But the specific reason I went with this base is that it could look a little bit more natural as opposed to the other wasteland. I almost said wastelandic. Is that a word? The other wastelandic bases that I had, because Surprisingly, I really don't have any fantasy type of bases for my figurines. Most of the D&D figures that I end up printing out are either one pieces or they come with just a black standard base. In fact, saying that now recalls that until I started playing Fallout, the Fallout, I've never played it, until I started painting the Fallout miniatures, I was used to black bases. Most of the time, your bases are just standard, boring black affairs. When Modifist started their Fallout line, and for quite some time until I believe just last year, their bases came with these crazy details. They called them, I believe, scenic bases. I want to say that was what they called. So I enter a world of being just straight black to here we have elevation, here we have mixtures and details and just other pieces of Fallout memorabilia within the world, which I wasn't used to at the time, but now I really like it and I don't want to not include it. The funny part about that is Modifist no longer does that. As I alluded to last year, they sort of stopped, and everything is now just that black base. A friend of mine pointed me onto the fact that you can get different textures and paint them onto it. Most of my figurines for Fallout are along the New Vegas themed grounds, so I just paint on this desert. I'm going to do a little more to it, but I just have to let them dry because it's a mess. And then, when things dry, you move on to the next project. You are correct. They do look so much more lively when you add just even if it's a light paint of coat. I don't have to be as careful when I get towards the tree because this is already going to be somewhat brown. But I do need to be careful of the stone on the other side. Right here. And we do the dry brushing first because I didn't have to be careful to not hit the tree. As you can see, a portion of this branch comes to rest on the rock. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to apply the grass tufts before or after the snow. Part of me is leaning towards doing it after the snow because, before the snow, so that when I apply the flocking, it looks like the snow kind of drifted. I'm not doing the entire base in snow. If I was, I definitely would not be painting it. And I got a portion of the brown covered. Unfortunate. A portion of the stone. You can see it right there. I'll just have to clean that up later on. But I only want to do a portion of it to make it look like one of those locations where the snow is mixing into the standard dirt and grass. That's very wet right there, so let's spread that just a bit. And there are some portion around this stone right here that was not adequately covered. There we go, much better. And then we just continue on around it. It doesn't matter if I paint this, the skeleton brown, because I'm just going to go over it anyways. Let's see if I can fix the focus just a little bit because it does look off. That's a little better. You can see the more details, right? Yeah. Let me grab a drink of water because I've been talking nonstop for a little bit and I am slightly thirsty. Okay. I'm not sure. I know I'm going to do a wash, but I'm not sure how I'm going to apply the wash afterwards. If I want to do another layer of something else and then the wash, probably going to be a dark tone. The thing with the washes is that you have to leave the paint to dry for a moment. I should have brought a blue wash. That probably would have been great for the giant But so far, you only have different types of darker washes just to add a little bit of shade to the figurines that I work on. Swing it right over here. I like the little crack that we got going on down here. The figurine is actually, or the base is pretty detailed. This comes from Jandro of the Nuke World line, though the Nuke World line is being discontinued. He's moving on to a cyberpunk theme. I don't even think these bases can be purchased anymore. A lot of the Nuke World content was removed. Unfortunately, but we got a solid year of detailed minis out of it. I do keep a mixture of 3D printed and official Modifist minis. Just because, you know, sometimes it's easier to print. Modifist is getting into the 3D printing space as a lot of Elder Scrolls things have been recently released, specifically all of Chapter 1's release, which is very nice. It came with the massive dragon, which I have yet to print. I want to, I haven't dedicated the time to printing it. That'll be something we work on soon. Let's get the other side of this real quick. Okay, solid. There are some portions that aren't adequately covered, but that's going to be obscured by other layers, so the work doesn't have to be heavy or detailed. When we take a look at the figure, you can see, as it's just Meg said earlier, yes, a lot of color is already brought to it. Just a mixture of black and white with that darker brown already looks pretty solid. We add a splash of the skeleton bone to these bodies right here, and then paint the darker wood. I think it's going to look good, especially when we throw on some grass tufts. It's going to be great. Let's take a look at our giant mini while that dries and see which direction we want to go to. Okay. So he has that blue look, but looking at the actual mini, he has a vague purple undertone. Like there's blue there, but there's also a lot of purple, and I'm wondering if that's the wash that they applied or if it's something else. Interesting. I guess the first thing we got to focus on, I don't know how evident it is. It's sort of evident. Let me see if I can get a better focus on the figurine. Right there. Yeah, perfect. There is an issue right here where I'm sure you can tell that it's slightly rigid, bumpy, like there are grooves there. That is a 3D printing error. When you have things laying horizontal with no support being something to hold the piece up, it does that. Typically, figurines are printed with support, and this came with a bunch of it. I don't know why that specifically wasn't covered. We're going to sand that away, but we have to do it gently because we don't really want to remove a lot of detail from the wood. Yes, there's already not a lot of detail there because of the scuff, but we don't want to make it too flat and get it on all other sides. It's going to be a little bit of an issue. I guess I'm also going to be breathing in plastic particles, but here we go. As long as we don't have to do too much, it won't be an issue. How's the other side looking? It's more evident from this side. Technically, people aren't going to see this for the most part, unless you get really close to the miniature, which most people don't, only when you're handling it or if I ever do an up-close view of it. I would very much like to do some Elder Scrolls Call to Arms content, and I guess that's partially what I'm getting ready to do, but come to know me for any length of time and you'll know that I can't do anything to just do it. Like, I have to put obscene amounts of effort into it so that it looks good and lives up to standards that I'll never live up to. You know how it goes. And bring it up to eye level and just take a quick look. Almost acceptable. There's one portion off to the left right here that I want to remove. I have to apply a little force. It's slightly rigid. Come on. Okay. Let's see if that did anything. Slightly. From the back. Not as evident from the back. Down here. Not as evident from the back. You can see that I've cut into the wood a little bit, which isn't entirely unrealistic. I mean, wood gets damaged. And from the front, it's not as visible. So that is better. That looks fine. Yeah, we can totally deal with that. I don't want to just spend the entire time doing browns, so we're not going to touch the top yet, the club. How do I want to do this? I think maybe we'll apply some blue to it. I brought out some electric blue, and I'm hoping it's not too vibrant, but after I apply the electric blue, I want to go over it with the flesh wash, which is gonna add a little bit of a very light tint of red to the entire figurine. However, I'm hoping that doesn't interfere too much, and if necessary, I'm going to go over it again with some, what is it called? Some uniform gray, even though I consider using uniform gray on a figurine to be the embodiment of sin. I believe electric blue is also what I use for Vault suits, so maybe it's too vibrant. We'll find out, because I'm hoping it gets counteracted by the red. We'll see. We'll try a bit first. Okay, probably on the larger side of the model. Right there. At the very least, we'll leave it as an undertone. Paint something else over it. Once we get the wash on, of course. Let me adjust the focus so that you're not too far away from the figurine. So I guess that's better. I had forgotten to do the underside beneath the beard when I originally primed this thing, and then I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, oh, I gotta do that portion because I wanted it to be prepared. I try to do priming before I jump on a video, just because it's going to take a while to wait for the paint to prime. And you never know how hard it's going to take. Some figurines have no issue with priming. Some require like multiple coats to get right. I've been working on a Zayden. I can't remember the name of them. The larger Zayden, the like large mech robot one from Fallout. And so far, that figurine has been a nightmare to work with. I don't know if they used a different type of resin or something, but putting it together, the glue would not stick. And then as I was getting the primer on, you can see that there were portions of it where the primer just didn't want to take. And there are lighter portions. Zaydens are some of my favorites. But I shouldn't be talking about Fallout while painting a frost giant. The frost giant is one of the ones that I was very interested in getting when I saw it, because, I mean, it's a giant model. Everybody loves giant models, right? I don't even know if the card pack for the giant is released yet, or if that's a card pack 4 thing. We are now on to the Elder Scrolls Chapter 4. And so far, the war game has primarily dealt with Skyrim. In fact, I don't know if anything from other provinces has been included. Like, I'm pretty sure so far everything has just been Skyrim related, which is fine. You know, everybody knows and loves Skyrim. I am a big fan of Daggerfall. It is like top 5 RPG for me. Like, I love Daggerfall so much. But what characters really stick out from Daggerfall? You can have the ghost that screams vengeance. Or I guess the mage lady. It's been so long I cannot remember her name. The dark elf girl, but I think she's in other things. You know how long those things live, dark elves. I would like to see some ESO figurines, because I genuinely like ESO. There was a portion where I played ESO daily. When I finish who is the best Elder Scrolls character? I guess that's tough. Do they have character? um, who would I say is the best Elder Scrolls character in general? That is actually an interesting question. The most obvious one is Serana, because like she's the one that has the most character, right? She's also voiced by Lucina, the character Lucina, not the voice actress that voice acted Lucina. I also like Lydia, but I think a lot of people like Lydia. She is sworn to carry your burdens. As nice as the Elder Scrolls is, their character work is not the best. But they really didn't get, Bethesda being they, didn't really do too much for character work until they started, Fallout 4 is where their character work started coming together. People like Piper, Kate, all of the characters that were there, Nick Valentine. Even Kellogg was a solid character. I did like Boris. Boris from Oblivion. It's been nice playing that again. And with the graphics for Oblivion being so wild, I can only imagine what the next Elder Scrolls is going to look like. It's going to be pretty cool. I really should play ESO again. Recently, I got an ROG Ally, essentially a handheld computer, and I've spent more time prepping it to play than actually playing it because I just don't play a lot of video games. In fact, I even had my first TTRPG in a while, like a month and a half yesterday. That was fun. Like genuinely a lot of fun to play that again. I spend so much time doing everything that I sometimes forget that, like, oh yeah, I actually genuinely really enjoy role playing. It speaks to my inner theater kid, even though I didn't theater kid. Oblivion stream 1. Oh no. It would just be me role playing Oblivion for an hour, which I guess people would actually, there may be an audience for that. He looks very, very blue in the camera, but I promise you he's not that blue. Like I said earlier, the camera's just making things seem so much bluer than they really are. Yes, very electric. That's where he would live, like that kind of avenue. Yo, this dude is ripped. Like, I never noticed that while applying the primer, but like, homeboy's got some abs. Is that visible on the camera? Yeah, you can see it. This giant is shredded. I got to apply a special wash to that to make them really pop. Oh, wait, is that fur? Nope, that's skin. The fur is going to be easiest to paint. Taking a look at it to the figurine, I can probably just do it with a command khaki. That might be too... No, that'll be dark in the middle. And then lead it out to some corpse pale. Surprisingly, corpse pale is one of my most used colors. I use it for skin tone. I use it for the ground. Like, everything gets touched by corpse pale eventually. It's a very versatile color. I also find that command khaki is very close to my own skin tone, so I am khaki colored. His arm needs a little bit more work. I've been thinking of a way, because they have the entire companions as a set of minis, and I've been thinking about picking them up and doing like setting up a mission where it's like, okay, you start here, like as the Dragonborn, and then the giants and the companions to the right, and you have to get there before they kill the giant. Like, the whole goal is to just get there before they murder the giant. If you succeed, you get told you're cool, and you can join the companions. If you fail, you get told you suck, and you can join the companions. Painting this side has been a lot faster than painting the other side, maybe just because there's a little more space that I can work with. I'm also getting more comfortable with applying the blue. You know, once you do it, you just enter like that flow state, and you just keep moving. And again, because this is just first coat, I don't have to worry about putting too much precision into it, because I'm going to be going over the other portions of it later. His shoulder looks a little messed up. The whole point of Skyrim is to get distracted by other things. Yeah. Have you even done the main quest line? It's a badge of honor to never have completed it. I went in. I played through it. I mean, I've spent so much time in Skyrim. It's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, when I was priming, I forgot to do the underarm as well. Here I am getting ready to not do it again. Oh no, you should. There we go. Better. The other side right here, I can see there's a portion. I don't know how visible it is on camera. Not very, because it's hidden by the shadows, but there's a portion right here. You've never met the Blades Lady? That's just after High Hrothgar. They have you do a dungeon and then you meet her. What is her name? I know who you're talking. Delphine. I think Delphine's a figure. Okay. We're going to leave him to dry like that for a moment, and then I'm going to apply the flesh wash and see if it's worth pursuing that a little further before we go in. If not, we'll have to come up with a whole new plan before applying everything, because I don't want a blue tone flesh wash and then hate the way it comes out. I have a feeling I'm going to have to apply some, another thing of gray, but we'll see where that goes. In the meantime, we'll go to the base. This should be nice and dry. Yeah. And if you're wondering, the figurine is going to stand like this on the base. If I can get it to stand, there we go. Compared to a Skyrim Mini, I don't have a Skyrim Mini on my desk, apparently. I didn't think that part through, but let's oh, I do. Well, not with me, but coincidentally. I happen to have Serana sitting on my bookshelf. So this is his size compared to a Skyrim Mini, specifically compared to Serana. She is one of the figurines that had a standard, or not a standard, a scenic base. And I believe this ground is based off of where you find her, where you had to push the goblets, like, to release her from the tomb. I think the ground was purple. I kind of went off memory when I painted her. And then I just did this lower section as like a dirt tone. It's textured, but that texture doesn't really come through off cam or on camera. Off camera, it has a bit of like sprinkling of lighter colors to give it that dirt, which is insane because the amount of effort that went into it for it not to appear on camera vaguely makes me rethink all of the effort going into this base. But I mean, that's how we want to do it. You know, I like putting that into it. You can see the texture of the stone on the base. I guess you can see it when I zoom it in a bit. You can see that, yeah, there is like that dirt texture going on. So, yeah, that's how it's going to look against the Serana Mini. It is indeed a giant. It's actually a little larger than the giants, the actual Call to Arms giant. This thing is slightly taller than it, unfortunately, but the base size is accurate. It is a 50mm base. So now we're going to go through, how do I want to go through with it? What do we do to this base next? It is, yes, a giant. I'm not sure if we want to apply a wash to it to darken things up. I was going to dry brush, but then again, I don't want the particles, but maybe it would be good to show you what a dry brushing looks like. Let's go ahead and apply the wash to it. Do I want to? Yeah, we're going to do it. Screw it. We are going to apply a dark tone, and this is going to get into the crevices, the little nooks and crannies, and really make them darker so that anything I apply over it is going to pop. Thing with these things, with the dark tone though, is that like it soaks and it takes a moment to dry. We will use, this brush is really hard. I haven't used it in a while. We will not use that. We'll stick with the brush that we're using now and get it nice and clean. And then start applying that dark tone. I don't know how dark it's going to come out. Hopefully not too dark, because I don't want to make it that dark. We'll see. Just straight up black. They dry slightly different, so we'll see. I really want to get into this little portion right here because I liked the way it looked. Okay, that's not too much darker. And yeah, it really is making those portions pop. Okay, dark tones seems to be the way forward. With washes, you have to be incredibly careful when applying a wash and make sure you spread it properly, because if you don't, if you apply too much wash in one area and you don't spread or clean it off, you end up with a figurine that looks wet or covered in syrup. Here is one of my first figures that I keep around that was overly washed. Look at how shiny this guy is. That's when I learned, like, okay, you got to be careful with the wash. Another portion of the wash is that it can remove things that are already there, and you might be able to see, like, right here, some of the paint is coming off. Either I didn't let it dry enough, or the wash is just, you know, washing it off. It's wash, right? You just got to be careful with how you apply it. If applied correctly, it looks great. If not, you know, shiny syrup color. On the color palette, or the color, I guess it is a color palette, but of the wet palette, I have one off screen where I'm putting my paints. The dark tone and the black that I used earlier, they look very similar, and I almost just put black all over the figure, and that would have been trouble. I may have dropped too much dark tone, unfortunately. When it comes to painting, you actually don't need that much paint down on the palette. A little goes a long way, and it's very easy to waste paint by doing it in that manner, by just applying too much because you think you need to apply too much. And right here, I am in danger of applying too much of the wash there. I just gotta hope I can spread it out a bit. Let's adjust the focus because I don't seem to be moving further away from this point. Better. So now the ground is looking a lot more muddy. We'll see how it looks when it dries. I may corpse pale it and then not dry brush. The corpse pale will be a dry brush, which I will have to be careful of the stone. Not too careful because it can also look like dirt got over the stone, which is a nice little thing that we can do there. A nice little effect that adds on to it. A lot of this is looking very thick. Look, it's getting that shine. I've overdone it. Hopefully the shine goes away as we get a little further in. But it is getting covered. We just don't want the ground to look too shiny, and it is messing up that that shit. That's way too much right there. Okay, let's spread it out a little bit. Okay. A little bit of the shine is going as it dries, thankfully. I need to get a little more in this corner right here. You are correct in that it is looking like mud. It just depends on how it dries. This is actually very close to how a oak wood base layer would have turned out. I could have used oak wood, I suppose, but I don't want to use two similar colors. We are definitely going to have to dry brush a little bit of lightness on top of it before we add that green in there. And then we'll oak wood this and see how it can go. Apply a few things. I think I'm only going to apply the green through portions of it, sprinkle it in, kind of like, you know how like when grass is dying, you have patches of brown? I kind of want to mix it in like that. So we got to be careful with the wash, as seen right there. Let's clean this brush. We'll see if the giant's dried enough to apply a wash. From here, I can see there are a few portions of it that are not properly blued out, specifically the arms. Let's adjust the focus for you. Specifically the arms. That I should apply a little bit more blue. It's gonna eat us some time, some drying time, but we want the figurine to be decently coated before we move on. Suppose that's gonna mean it has to happen. A viewer once pointed out that a lot goes into these things, and that person was right. I feel like I need to do something here. Like that looks too pointy. I've been pointing with, there it is. Did that do anything? Not particularly. I don't want to cut it though. There's an entire portion of the back of the arm that just looks like 3D print. That's better. The arm is still kind of pokey. Unfortunately, cleaning that up also revealed some of the white PLA beneath it. I believe blue is a base coat. Electric blue is not a base coat, unfortunately, so it may not take properly. We'll see how many shades of blue it's going to take to match. It is getting there. Okay. It went over at least. Maybe because there's a texture from roughing it up with the file. Just have to apply a bit more. As well as a bit more to the back. Let's get over here. Apply a little to the top. Okay. There is a better covering now. Peck's still a little off. How are we drying on the base? Let's take a quick look before we continue. Better. Okay, so it's not shiny. It's still got that wet mud texture. So I guess we succeeded in a way. Let's give it a few more minutes to dry, and then we'll see how that changes, if that changes anything. Apply to the corner as well. Okay. You can see beneath the beard where we need to apply a little more. There are just some portions that the brush will not reach. May have to get a longer brush to fix that. And then I can see down here at the Adonis line, because this giant is fucking ripped. Let's adjust the focus a bit because I keep maneuvering. There we go. And just get all up in there. Okay. Look beneath to the arm. Okay, you can see back here where the file did its thing that I do need to apply a little more to cover that up. But with scraping off the primer and then applying the blue, it's actually coming together a lot better than I thought it would. PLA is actually great to paint. It's the one thing I can say. I've never had an issue painting PLA. Some resins have been problematic, but PLA has been amazing. Okay. He looks, there's a better cover to it. We'll probably mess with the dry brush in a moment. Dry brushing is the definition of being wasteful. Because you apply a massive amount of paint to a paintbrush, and then you just, wipe it off on something so that there's only a little bit left. Okay. And once more, set on the base. That's how he comes out on the base. Next to the Serrana Mini. That is indeed a giant. Massive bugger, too. Okay. Not really staining on the ground or on the feet, so we're looking good with that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to We're going to move on to some Corpse Pale. As mentioned earlier, this is my preferred color for dusting just about anything. We'll hit the ground with it, being careful to avoid the blacks, but if the stone gets touched, it's not the end of the world. It's almost like sand has been shifted over. Do I have an example? I do right here. So this is Dog from Fallout New Vegas. His base was hit with that very similar style. I started, this base color was desert yellow before a dark wash similar to the base, which essentially makes the base look like mustard. And then we applied a heavy-handed dry brushing, which is how we got that. And as you can see in the same style, Let's adjust the focus. As you can see right here, I also did the same stone style. The edges, I did get some sand on, but it's sand. It's supposed to look all messed up, right? Like, you know, desert stone. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the corpse pail. Shake the paint. Drop it on the wet palette in a second. I do have a dry brush here. Is it dry? Yeah, it's dry. The fantastic thing about dry brushes is that, so you get these, which I should clean my actual brushes off before you let them sit. You want to take care of the things you work with, not let the paint dry on the brush. But one of the great things about dry brushing is that you can just go to the dollar store and get a bunch of disposable brushes. And not worry, because you can get like 3 for $1 over there. And it doesn't matter if you throw them away. They're dry brushes. Goodbye. Okay. So we apply a generous gob of corpse pail to the wet palette. Again, you can't see the wet palette off screen. I can bring you a brief glance of the wet palette. There you go. See, it's paint. It's messy. You don't see the corpse pail. There it is. We then get a generous application on the brush, getting multiple angles of it, like so. We then take a napkin and literally just get most of the paint we just applied to the brush off. Like I said, it's a tremendous waste of paint, but it gets us the sand-like texture that we are aiming for. It's also probably very ASMR, but I think I have my mouse or my audio tweaked to not hear such minute sounds. Kind of looks like a peach tone. The problem when it comes to dry brushing, though, is you have to do a lot of this, because if you don't, you apply a lot of wet paint to the base. I sort of did that to the giant's hammer, and you can see portions that are much wider than the black would have allowed. It burns out a bit of the stone texture, unfortunately. Oh, hey Ray, nice to see you. Yes, a lot of paint gone. There's also a lot of paint particles in the air that I am now breathing in. Okay, so I didn't realize how large, if this is, yeah, you can see, I didn't realize how large this was going to be. I can try to hold it together like this, but it's not going to allow the dry brushing effect. The best thing I can do is cover this portion with my thumb and not worry too much about the others. If I ruin the stone portions to the right, I can always stick the grass tuft between them, cover it with a bit of snow, and not worry too much about it. Of course, I'm going to worry, but not worry too much about it. Let's give it a shot and see if I took off enough. I did. Okay. So then let's try to be a little bit more precise in the brushing effect. Hit only the edges. You can see a portion right there that is a bit too much. Cover this side. It's getting all over my hands. Well, that's gonna happen. Give it that ground texture and it's gonna come out great. I'm hitting the stone to the right a bit heavy. The hardest portion is that I'm getting. Now, it doesn't matter if I get this portion that I'm working on here, because that skeleton that we are going to go over afterwards. But I have applied way too much to the side. And then if you can see here, where's my file? There is that bit of brown between this and the log. That's going to be a little hard to hit. We can try, but I've already overplayed the middle. I might grass tuft that. Or snow, because we are applying snow. I could hide it with a decent amount of snow. And here is the aftermath. Calm down. Here is the aftermath of my nail. Usually I do this with a glove, but I didn't have a glove today. Uh, it looks like my thumb has incredibly dried overnight and I should be applying some form of lotion, but it comes off and now all we have to worry about are these little particles floating everywhere. Breathe them in. Don't breathe them in. Oh my god, my water's been uncovered this whole time. Okay, no, I think I'm cool. That's disgusting. I have been doing fine, trying to keep busy and active, but you know how that goes. Messing up is something that's going to happen a lot, though. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of spice. I should put something over it. Well, they don't call them sticky notes for nothing, right? Bam. Safe. I'm going to look over and just see a bunch of particles covering that sticky note, and I'm going to be disgusted. Okay, let's take another look now that we have it. Remember that this is all a little bit bluer than the camera's making everything look a little bluer than it actually is. This portion right here is lighter than it appears on camera because it looks very dark. You can actually see the tone, the dark tone that we did earlier over the brown, really picking up in the middle, giving it that dirty, grungy, still vaguely muddy look. The corpse pale brushing didn't do what I was hoping it would do. The edges over here look fantastic. This looks great. Not so much right here, and I don't know if that's because the darker tone fought too much with it, or it's because I was too afraid of hitting the larger stone. We have the casualty of the little box over here, getting heavily brushed over. I've recently realized that I can scrape a bit layer of paint off, but I don't know if that works with dry brushed paint. It does look like it works. Yes. I could have used a HIPAA filter, but the sticky note would work just fine. Hopefully. Asterisk. Okay. We can apply a bit of our green in a moment. Again, we want to let the dry brush dry before we go over it. Let's look back to our giant friend. He's vibrant, he's blue. Let's now give it the flesh wash. And again, we have to be very careful when it comes to applying a wash. Apply too much wash, and the figure looks like this, covered in syrup. One of my first figurines. I keep them just to make sure I don't, you learn from it. Problem is, and I'm speaking off memory here, I think the flesh wash adds a little bit of red to the figurine. At the bottom left picture that we have, that is the actual figurine, and I don't know how large it is on your screen. I have a secondary picture pulled up to the right just so I can take a look. He seems, there are purple undertones throughout his entire body, specifically his nose, and I'm hoping I can mimic that with a flesh red. We're going for a mimic and not an exact one-to-one. So, this is a safer process than the dry brush. It's just, you have to be careful with your application. That is dangerous. Okay, take a look. As I mentioned earlier, the dark tone blended in with the black paint that I used earlier, but now the flesh wash looks very similar to the dark tone. It's something, I'm going to hit the wrong one. I already know I'm going to hit the wrong one, but there is that slight red look to do not mix into each other. Chill. Chill. Ooh, shit. Okay. Prepping for surgery? I mean, I guess it sort of feels like that. The stakes are almost as high. Okay, it does add a little bit of red. I can see that as I dampened it a little bit. Here, I can dampen it on this rag. You can see that it leaves a bit of red behind. Yeah. Okay. Adjust the focus. We're going to start with the left side because that's the most evident. Interesting detail I didn't pick up on until now I'm looking deep at the figurine. Right here. This line going down. It looks like the artist tried to mimic the giant's like tribal tattoo it's got going on. I wonder if the wash is gonna, I mean, the wash is gonna pick that up, but I wonder what we can do with that. Guess we'll find out. Let's apply the wash first. We gotta spread it out so that it doesn't pool and get shiny and cover our little friend with red syrup. So far, he's just getting a dirty, grungy feel to him. And I don't know how great that's gonna be. I've also now realized that the figure has a nipple. That's interesting. The guy really went all out. He put rib cage Adonis lines, gave him a 6-pack. Homeboy was going for the fan service. Holy crap. Okay. It's getting dirtier. The model isn't taking on a decent shading. It's just looking grungy and dirty. It is bringing out the features, you are correct. But it's just looking dirty. I guess giants aren't clean. They, like, they live out in the wild. So we'll see how that changes. I may outline it with a pencil. We'll see. It is helping the muscle definition of the arm. Maybe instead of a pencil, we'll go through it with a dark tone? It is popping the little tribal tattoo, though. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure. It's gonna need another coat of something. I don't think I want to wash on wash. I don't... Dry brush gray? Because they are supposed to look a little grayer. I'm just not sure if I want it to go that route. Uniform gray on a figure is sin. What I'm going to do is let his right side dry. I guess that's left side, sorry. I'm going to let this left side dry and then judge it against the right and see if I should continue applying the wash or if we need to adjust our course here. Because as his body gets more evenly covered, it's starting to look less dirty, and it's starting to get that pale look, which is kind of what we wanted to go for. 'Cause again, remember, you're seeing on this, everything is darker for you, and a little more blue than it is against my eye. But that pale look is sort of coming across. He's no longer just dirty. It's starting to take on that texture. So maybe as it dries, we will go further with the flesh tone. Tattoo's a little less evident now. You can really see it along the shoulder line. It vanishes as it goes down his chest. Let him sit for a moment. See how the dry brush is. Just touch it with our finger. Doesn't really come off, so we can go forward with the next step and see where it goes. Do I have a lighter gray than uniform gray? I know I have darker along the lines of necromancer cloak, but I don't know if I have lighter. Nothing like the taste of paint. I'm thinking a dry brush would be what to do there. We're not going to corpse pale the dry brush. I don't think it's going to work. I just saw Rain's message that she's simping for him now. Oh my god. You want to name the character? I'll let you name the giant. Let's see. What do we want to do there? Do I want to add a little bit more dark tone? No, I don't want to dark tone that. I can dry brush I can dye brush a different brown to it and see where that goes. But maybe it's time to, I don't know, because I don't want to leave it as bright. I think it is time to do a different dry brush on that. But it's not going to be, I can't keep using the same brush. Let's see. What do we have here? I have... That's empty. Why did I bring that? I think we started with leather. Okay. For the ground, I have monster brown, fur brown, oak brown, but oak brown is what I want to use on this with some lighter brushes. Terry the giant. Oh my god. Okay. You know what? Let's add a splash of green before we dry brush so that when we add the brown, it interacts with that green and adds that terrible ground texture before we overcome it with snow. So we're actually going to turn to Scaly Hide. Taking a look at the base already, I don't want to do a complete green. That's just not the goal. It's not where we're going. Where is my pointer? I think we're going to do a zigzag cut. But I don't know how I want to cut. I want to avoid this. Or do I? Actually, if I do the green from this end, not only does it cover the darker brown that I couldn't get earlier, but when this stays black and white and this becomes brown, the green snaking around it is going to pop a little bit more. So we're going to go to the left side. Do we want to cut across, snake this way? We'll probably... like that. We'll figure it out as we get a little further. So now we are switching to Scaly Hide. Oh god. That's new. Okay. Let's go. Live stream fails. When you haven't used a paint in so long, it begins to solidify, right? When the paint solidifies within the bottle, it explodes when you apply too much pressure. Normally, that's what happens. Instead, I'm pushing out a little slug. This isn't a thing. I've never seen this happen before. So let's get the wet palette out and see what happens. Oh. This is scary. This is on my desk too. Nothing of importance is nearby. This is terrible. Okay. Applying force, more force. Okay, it didn't blow up. I've never seen this happen though. I've never seen the little like slug. Usually it's just so that I still have to apply a little bit more pressure, so there's a blockage there, but it's coming out. Okay, let's stop before I like blow up the thing. You can see down here on the palette. This little purple area is from where purple exploded. It's always Grimoire or Orc purple. I could never get them out because I never use purple. But it didn't blow up. There we go. Crisis averted. There's another universe where it did blow up on me, though. There's also another universe where it didn't. Many doors, Ed boy. Yeah, just throw the paint paper all over my phone. I'm sure that won't mess with the screen at all. See, I did before, Rain. I did just start painting and hope it, everything turned out well. I don't seem to have any figures on my desk from that, but it did happen that way, and they, were not pretty. No, I don't. Unfortunately. I was smart enough to put all those away and know I would reach for them at some point. But they come out looking nice when you put the right amount of effort into them. What was I doing? Green. Had I actually put thought into this, I would have made sure the green that I got matched the little grass tufts. But, I was not thinking that far ahead. Okay. I gotta get close in here to make sure I don't hit things that don't need to be hit. So I'm kinda... That is a very vibrant green. Is that even on camera? No, of course it isn't. Okay. That is a very, very vibrant green. That is going to need a wash for sure. Okay. There we go. I got the portions that I didn't want to mess up. Nice and green. And now we just kind of snake it outward and see what comes out looking good. Man, if I had some flowers, like some really small flowers, I can put them at the base of the log, and I bet you that would look very nice. I don't even know if they make little RPG flowers. The last time I saw something labeled flowers, it was just flocking of different colors. Maybe I can print out, if there would be no details actually, let's say maybe I can print out a little bunny rabbit and stick him by the log. Okay. It's not coming out too bad. I think I'm going to separate it. I was going to make it a straight line, but I think having the grass grow out patchy would be the better option. Like it's sort of dying between the color, between the stones, right? Like it's being trampled over. Stomp! No, we will not crush the bunny. My headset keeps turning off. I was about to ask, are there even rabbits in Skyrim? But there are rabbits in Skyrim. Also, are there rabbits in Skyrim? Sounds like a dope-ass scenario name. We'll hit the ring. The outer ring right here as well. That's where we'll make it connect, as if it goes off the base into another portion of the world. Just a little brief suggestion of more beyond the base that we're working on. And the fact that it doesn't connect right here adds a little bit more life to the base. Oh, we'll add it around the skull. Okay, we'll add it around the skull and then paint onto it. There was this video I've seen a while back. It was like, it started out with this soldier who gets shot and then like a bomb goes off or something. And the video is just a rapid, what is it? A time lapse of like the world ending and the nature slowly reclaiming the skull. And I think I want to apply some green to this. So we'll probably hit it next, just to make it look like this dude's been dead a while and nature is reclaiming it. Maybe he's from like a different era. He's from the Dragon Age, if you would. Okay, that's looking too clean. Let's muddy it up a bit. Ooh, that raised the ground is really nice. Failed to connect to the right. It's just it's too straight right here. It's way too straight. That's a little better. Okay, that's cleaner. A little too uniform right here. But I like the suggestion of connection. I might add a little bit to the side. Right around there. See, we don't connect right here, but we do connect right there. Leave that little center portion in. I just realized you're actually not going to be able to see this portion of it. We'll place the figure down in a moment to see if any of the details I'm trying to insinuate are actually even possible of being seen within the figure. So let's check just a second. And then I guess this is also our opportunity to see how the dry brushing... Okay. Let's adjust the focus. Okay. It's darker on camera for sure. You can see that it's very dark. To me, outside, it looks a little muddy, but not in the real life sense, in the video game sense where the details are kind of lost and everything just looks dark. As it's dried, to the eye, it looks dirty. To the camera, it just looks like he's been shaded a bit. I wouldn't say this is a negative look, though. Do I dry brush some gray over this or dry brush a different color? The figure, again, looks purple. I'm not really aiming for that purple look. I'm aiming for that grayish look. But also the bottom right image that I have as a reference is vaguely red as well. As it stands, even without the fact that everything just seems blue, he's too blue. Remember, he's not as blue to me, like, as I can see him. He's more blue on the camera, but he's still too blue for my liking. And we're going to have to figure out how to change that. But as for the base coloring, blurry. That looks good as hell, blurry. Like, I could leave it like that if the blur was affected and I wouldn't have to do anything more. I like that. When you add the focus to it, it looks a little too messy. So he was standing like this. Right there. Get these things off. Go back. And let's see. I think you may be right, Rain. It is growing on me a little bit. What am I moving this? Okay, let's see. Just pushing everything aside. Hopefully that paint is sealed. The grass texture, I'm not so happy. Where's my pointer? I'm not so happy with this. It's just the brown and dry brush corpse pale isn't doing it for me. The grass, like the little suggestion of green grass, really adds to it, makes it pop. Okay. We're gonna be able to fix this portion right here by doing that snow flocking I was talking about. At least the majority of this can be covered and it won't be a problem. I don't want to add, I wanted to add the green to this side, but the dichotomy of it being cut in half kind of gives it that like yin and yang look. And I like that, so I don't want to overplay it too much. That splash of color to the back of the figurine looks great. So I think I want to leave it like that. Grass tuft somewhere in between, which I'm going to do before we snow. So we're going to start with this. We'll apply the skeleton. We'll grass tuft somewhere near this section, probably right here. And then we won't snow flock to no. Oh, I gotta do the wood behind it. Let me drink some paint real quick. It takes a little effort, but anybody can learn to do this. Never sell yourself short. You were a manga artist, remember? You can do it. So let's move on to... That's corpse pale. That's command khaki. Skeleton bone. Skeleton bone, as one might assume, is used for skeleton. There's a 1-800 number? Yeah, I have totally been there. When you put too many colors on something, it's like, oh, did you mean to make brown? It's like, no, I was trying to make a rainbow. Oh, God. Okay. This one is stuck. It's not coming out. You can actually sort of see the blockage at the top. It's stuck, like hardcore stuck. So I thought ahead for this one and brought a pencil. And what we do is we just extend the pencil and then we poke. I'm actually going to do this over the wet palette because I've applied pressure. That means it's probably built up and ready to blow. So no, it didn't pop. Is that enough? Yep. Okay, cool. And then we just break off the lead. Okay. Baby brush. Okay, I gotta actually bring this one up to me because it's very small and I don't want to touch the dirt. Unfortunately, when it comes to painting more intricate details, they often have to get pulled away from the camera because I need to be like old man up close. Because I have to be able to perfectly see the details to make sure I don't hit too much of the ground that I'm trying to paint. Especially when it comes to the skeleton. The edges can be an issue. Okay. One portion of it is very off base. Let's see if I can. Okay. You might be able to see that I hit the top portion just a little bit right there offside, but the rest of it has gone on pretty clean. We will have to move on to the rest of this, but I don't have to pull it as close. Oh, hey. Virtual Muse AI also runs solo roleplay videos. Entertaining. Last, he was running a Jurassic Park episode. I think a new one came out. I haven't sat down to watch it yet, but definitely on my list. Oh, man. Just straight up drinking brush water. I don't want to say that I've been there, but, like, it's happened, you know? Oh, man. No. I definitely do not have a high con stat. But I have a high con stat. Like Saul Goodman style. No, I wish I did. Then I could have been a lawyer. Boom. Got him. Got all of them. Come at me, lawyers. But not really. Is it even on camera? No, I have it tilted so that I can see, and it's just being covered by the wood. I think you can see it now, though. Yeah. Let's adjust focus. It's probably better. Get off me, brush. Okay. See, the thing about doing skeleton is you don't have to be as dedicated to coloring it like the rest of the model, because skeletons have like that broken look to them, and it's just not one uniform color. Not that I know what skeletons look like. I'm only bloodthirsty when it comes to RPGs. I played my first RPG session in like a few months on Saturday. Some Victorian horror stuff that I'm working on. I got my friends together to like actually continue playing a campaign we started and just haven't. And what they didn't realize, and they should have realized, there are just things that like I do and people like in jokes and references I make that like people should understand, like my friends around me should understand. But what they didn't get is right from the start of the episode, I was like secretly running Final Destination in the background to a group of NPCs. So like their story was happening, but at the same time I was like setting up a Final Destination type disaster. And then like hinting at it, and then it finally happened and people started dying. And the funny part is that when the like standard Final Destination death happened, they still didn't understand. I'm like, wow, I must have messed up. And it's making me want to do something. None of them watch my content, so I can say it here. I want to secretly run a Mortal Kombat RPG and not tell them that I'm running a Mortal Kombat RPG, and be like, I've been suggested running a ancient like Japanese themed warrior thing, and like secretly have them go into fighting the ninjas like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and see if I can get to the end of the episode before calling like, oh, this is Shang Tsung really, and seeing if I can get there without them realizing it. That one's a little harder because they know how much I love Mortal Kombat. But I think if I could get away with it, it would be so fun. Oh, have you seen the new Final Destination? It's so good. Okay, I'm getting close to the ground. Let me bring it up close so I don't hit something. It's that there's just this curve that doesn't want. There it is. It's like it doesn't want to get painted. There we go. The last two. The fifth one was pretty good, but no, like, yeah, if you've seen clips, you know, like, this one's pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Final Destination. It's one of my favorite series. I can admit they're not great movies. They're just fun to watch, but, like, this new one is a good movie outside of being Final Destination. Like, it's genuinely an enjoyable film. What is this? What are you, Brown, doing on my base? How did you get there? Where did you... You don't look like the other Brown. Either way. Let's add... Let's add a little bit of darkness to the skeleton eyes. Wipe off the top. There we go. Now it pops a little more. Wood here. Is this actually... Is it too much? Let's hold on. I need to see where his foot would be. Okay, yeah, it's definitely too much to apply the grass tuft. I was going to say right beside the log. Let's adjust the focus so I can get a better... I was going to say apply the grass tuft right by the log, but it would be swallowed by his feet and it wouldn't look that good. Do I have a reference? I don't have a reference. Where would I have put her? I'm not sure where she ended up. I had a figurine that I painted and used the grass tuft with for an example, but I don't know where she ended up. My office is just like destroyed. There's stuff everywhere. But she's not right here behind the keyboard, is she? No. It's Nora from Fallout 4. So no, we'll have to grass tuft up front. Let's apply the wood. I don't have oak brown out, so we'll do that. Oak brown. Oh yeah, when you see it, let me know what you think. Like, in-depth movie critic review of every character. Okay. I think we can shift back to the normal brush wherever it ended up. Where did it end up? Did it fall? No. It's just covered. Okay. So let's apply the brown to this. Oak brown is your standard wood color. I use it for just about every wood color. Typically, my wood is very boring, just like literally just a dark brown. And that goes for anything that I've, like, literally, like, if it's wood, it was just a boring brown color. This is supposed to be like spikes to protect. I've recently experimented. This is a little bridge that I did that I try to apply a little bit of different color to give it a weathered look. I think it came out better than the others, but none of the woods I've ever painted look fine. Like, it's all just very, very boring. But I haven't, like, recently is when I started applying dry brushes to everything, when I used to just do it for the dirt when I was going for ground. And then the interior. Am I on camera? I gotta remember to be on camera when I do this. I can tell from the way, if you take a look right here, let's adjust focus. I have to adjust it manually or else it keeps changing as I paint. So you can see right here how the paint is going on thinner than the top, and that's because when I originally did the primer, I didn't get this spot as well as I must have thought I did. So it's going to cause me to have to do several different coats right there before it takes on a more uniform dark look. And then, of course, we have to let it dry before we dry brush some lighter browns. We may even do a wash to make the darker parts pop, but I suppose we'll see when we get a little closer. Yeah, the entire side right there is nearly white. I totally botched that. The PLA that I used to print this out was white. So if you see white peeking through on this or the giant, that just means I failed to prime. Which happens, you know. Yeah, look at right there, just that blatant white spot. Which is covering remarkably well. That one part specifically is covering remarkably well. The underside right here, wow. Could be worse. Okay, I'm gonna bring it up a little closer, specifically because I'm getting close to the stone that I don't want to have to repaint because it was dry brushed. I don't want to have to redo dry brushing. If you do too many layers of dry brushing, it actually looks terrible. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. Fuzzy. It looks fuzzy. I have a Mothman figure that I tried to do multiple layers of dry brushing on, and it looked fuzzy. And I know Mothman himself is probably a little fuzzy, but like fuzzy static is the best way I can describe it. Like it was just a messy look that I had to go over with the black again. And the problem with paint is that once you apply so many coats, it goes away. The details fade because they're covered in layers and layers of paint. My biggest issue, something that I'm trying to actively correct now, is I can't do faces. I try to get the eyes and I miss, so then I have to recover, and then they lose their facial features because it's all just covered in paint. Did Serana come out well? No, she's like the one good one. What about Sam? Nope. It came out on the missing Nora figure, and I don't know where she went. But like I had to actually take a X-Acto knife to the figure and recut the mouth like she was the Joker in order to get her to look like she had a mouth. You as well, Rain. Thanks for stopping by. I will send you a picture when this thing gets completed. But yeah, I really got to work on those faces. Because they are my biggest issue. This portion needs to dry before I can apply any more paint to it, unfortunately. I wish I had caught that before starting. And then right here, of course. Oh wow, it's 9:39. Day went by so fast. Ooh, this. Despite not being primed, that section went on perfectly. I have to get that. There's a piece of the wood right by the rock. You may not see it with the giantess on there, but once I get the giant on there, I wouldn't be able to correct it around his feet. Okay. Adjust the focus. Bam. Okay, yeah, the log against the green and the black really, really stands out. That worked out the way I was hoping it would. We'll get a dry brush, some form of lighter brown maybe. I was going to go over it with the wash, but I don't know how helpful the wash would be. Applying the... I think I want to put the tuft right there. That's not where he stands, right? Because he stands like this, so the tuft would not be in his way. So let's do that now. This is a giant, so I can afford to place a giant tuft, actually. Yeah, I can afford to do the tuft now. Come on. The tufts do not want to come out of their case. Okay. And then I saw a pair of tweezers on my desk somewhere. I thought I saw a pair of tweezers. No. Okay. I really did think I had tweezers for this. I did. They're hiding underneath my keyboard. So let's pick... Actually, hold on. Let me bring the tufts into camera. They don't match. They're more of a yellow. The grass is more of a green. I think I have other colored tufts, but that's not something I'm going to worry about tonight. Because I may have to go over it with a desert yellow. Seems to be the color. Potentially seems to be the color. And then we have this. I could go over his wood right now. Or potentially another coat. Yeah, because the tuft isn't the call right now. We have to give this a moment to dry before even attempting to apply a brush. Let's even it out. We're going to even it out. We're going to apply the red. And then at another time, when I'm off camera, I'll go through my supplies and see if I have any other colored tufts. If not, we will have to shift the color, shift it to a more yellow, match the tuft. I don't want to do that. I like the green that it is now. It has that natural look to it. So for now, we're just going to apply red. Do that to this dude right here. And make sure to evenly spread it out, because if we don't spread out, it can look muddy, and we don't want that muddy look. We don't want him bathing in syrup. His six-pack is really popping, though, even just with that, with a brief amount of red over it. It is really coming out. I can see I didn't get his neck. See, I'm always going to have that issue. But there we go. That's way too much. There we go. The less we have to spread, the better. Underneath. Probably put it to this entirety. I wouldn't say... Something more has to be done. Like, automatically we know that something more has to be done. He can't be that blue. I think going over it, Meg was right. Going over it with that, probably with some sort of dry brush of a gray. I don't know if I want to do. It's gonna be a hard call. What I think I'll do, but that's gonna take time. I might bite the bullet and go out to the store tomorrow and pick up some blue wash. Maybe instead of washing him with red, like the red tone, we can give him the rest of the color, hit him with another layer of gray, so the blue will peak slightly. This darker blue will peak slightly beneath a different type of gray. I won't get uniform gray. And then from there, we hit it with a blue wash to enhance the tone. That might be what we have to do. It depends on if I can get to the hobby store tomorrow. Because I also have to do laundry. If not, I can get to the hobby store Wednesday for sure. But we'll see, because I think a blue wash is going to be the call to make him pop towards the gray that we're aiming for. Hell, looking at the figure, a purple wash may even do that. The purple wash, assuming they actually make a purple wash may also be the call. And I say that because, again, the figurine itself looks vaguely purple. I don't know how many details from the image come across. But we will find out. This has to dry. And I gotta get under his neck. Right side as well. Okay. I'm gonna leave him to dry like that. Place him over on the base. Take a look as he goes with a little more of the color. Okay. Adjust the focus. I don't know what I want to focus on. That's not right there. We primarily focused on the base today, but honestly, the base is looking pretty good. We are going to apply another wash to it. I'll see if I have a different colored tuft. If not, I mean, if I'm heading to the hobby store, whether that's tomorrow or the day after, I can just get a different colored green tuft that'll match the base. One that'll be slightly lighter and not have that yellow flavoring. But again, we'll place her Serana next to the giant so we can see the colored combination. And it looks fine. Hopefully it comes out well. We are going to call it there as I reassess and see what further I can get before we go on. Thanks to all that joined me. I hope you were able to enjoy the process as we work towards completing Terry the Giant. We will continue. If not tomorrow, then Wednesday. At the particular moment, there is no schedule for working on the mini, but I'm hoping to do maybe like Monday, Tuesday, something along that line. We'll see where it goes. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, I'll be in other worlds. Wait, how do you stop streaming? Is it on YouTube or on OBS? Let's hit end stream on YouTube.